back to Dr Sara Hill to talk about what she's really here to talk about, which is, does the contraceptive pill do more harm than good? She says yes. This is following her own experience, and she spent the last 10 years researching what she calls the darker side of the contraceptive pill. Her findings are all in here, how the pill changes everything. Good morning. Alongside her are Dr Sara. Very interesting, because there will be so many women watching this who are on the pill, who are perfectly happy on the pill, doing very well on the pill, and having it as their method of contraception, which you did yourself for many years. How many years?
I was on the pill for more than a decade. It was between 11 and 12 years in my life. And I had the same experience that many women have, where I didn't feel bad on the pill. I didn't have any of the, the mood-related side effects that doctors will sometimes warn you about when it comes to the birth control.
So you were very happy on it, meant you could plan your life and decide when you did want to have children. It was when you came off it that you say you started to notice changes in yourself. What were they?
Yeah, so when I went off it, it was about 3 months after I went off it that I started to really notice that I felt a little bit like I woke up. Like I felt more vibrant, I had more energy, I was going to the gym again, I was caring about my appearance in a way that I really hadn't in a while. I was like in tune with my sort of femininity. I was interested in sex.
Why is that, doctor? From a man's point of view, what does the pill do that we should be, everybody should be aware of?
Right. Well, I mean, the pill, it changes a woman's profile of sex hormones. And, we tend to think of our hormones as this sort of external force that acts upon us, right? Like hormones are something that happen to us, right? And they influence puberty and cause hair to grow places that it wasn't before and all of these awkward things. But hormones are actually part of the signal, in addition to those things, hormones are also part of the signaling machinery that our brain uses to create the experience of being who we are. And so when you take the contraceptive pill, you can't just expect it to influence you from the neck down. It's also going to be influencing what your brain is doing.
So when you started saying, you felt like you'd woken up, you were just about to say you suddenly were interested in sex again.
Yes.
So you thought that you hadn't been whilst on the pill then?
Right. Well, when I was on the pill, it's funny because, and this is true for a lot of women, is they go on the pill generally, like for me, it was late high school. And so I was like getting ready to graduate from high school and go into college. And so I thought I was kind of maturing out of these things. Like I used to listen to music a lot. I used to like to go out dancing. I was into like my makeup and how I looked. I thought about sex. I noticed men. And then, as I went into college and all of these other things, I thought that I was maturing out. I thought, well, I'm not distracted by these distracting things anymore. But then, then when I had the experience of going off of it and I found that I was going back to the gym and that I was thinking about sex, and I sort of realized that this reminded me of the person that I was prior to starting the pill.
You decided to research this because of the way you felt and started talking to your girlfriends and a research project on it. Ultimately, what are your findings? What are you trying to tell women now who are on the... Because there'll be many women who are on the pill watching this, saying, are you telling us all to come off it? Or?
No, absolutely not. So this book is really just about giving women a language to explain the experiences that they've been talking about for decades. So the birth control pill has been around for almost 60 years now. And during that time, the thing that women talk about with their girlfriends and with their partners is about how the pill makes them feel psychologically. But, that isn't really something that, the medical research is kind of over here, and they tend to look at things that are associated with safety, which is so important. I mean, knowing the risk stroke and the risk of stroke, good grief, I'm from America, I'm jet lagged, forgive me. The risk of stroke and pulmonary embolism, it's so important to do that. But their research is sort of over here, and the neuroscience and psychology is over here. And science isn't, there's not enough interdisciplinary sort of crosstalk. And so doctors oftentimes aren't aware of what research says about the way that the pill can influence, what's going on in our brains.
Well, Dr. Sara, what are the alternatives then? If the pill isn't maybe the best thing for us psychologically or physically, What are the alternatives?
Well, I think it's worth mentioning that for some women, it will be absolutely fine for them. You know, not everyone gets those types of side effects. And also sometimes, you know, the PMS you might suffer with if you weren't on the pill may be worse psychologically for you, or falling pregnant might be worse psychologically for you.
Yes, for sure.
So it is worth remembering that it's not always going to be bad,
Right.
but I totally understand what you're saying. For some, it is. But there are alternatives, of course. So there are barrier methods, the standard condom. People always give it a bit of a bad rap, but it's the only one that stops STDs. You've got diaphragms and caps and all those things. But I think what a lot of women are starting to appreciate is IUDs. So that's copper-based devices that is inserted into the womb. They're usually little T-shapes. But
The coil,
The
they-
coil, essentially, yeah, the copper coil. But there's, interestingly, a new type that's come through called the ballerine. And those are just these little round copper circles that fits in there. It's supposed to help slightly more in terms of when the coil can get dislodged and cause a bit of pain. So there are new things coming out. And if you're really against anything kind of internally, you've got things like the rhythm method, so natural planning. And whilst it may not be ideal in terms of effectiveness for everyone, you have to be really on it. It's one way to make sure you're not having anything internally, you're not taking in any hormones, and it is an option.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. How the Pill Changes Everything by Dr Sara E. Hill is out now. Thank you so much. It's definitely food for thought, that one, isn't it? It really is. Great to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.